in the door with Felmax.
In the beginning, I think there's war drums. Am I right?
Yes, let me see. So I'm missing the drum here. As you can see, it says drum 2. But for the most part, when I do use those crazy epic drums, I mainly get them from here. All right, so I have this sample pack here I downloaded like, I don't know, like a year or two ago, which is basically like movie Mad Max stuff. And it has really just like epic drum loops. Like this. So what I usually do is I'll find one that I like that it isn't in the tempo of the song that I'm working in, and then I'll just fit it to the tempo, make sure it's on key, and then I'll place it there. Yeah, as far as the processing goes, there wasn't really anything, honestly. It was just mainly like the layering with this snare here, these claps, and these rides.
The main sound in the drop, yeah, how did that come together?
That was this right here. I'll show you. It was this thing I had from this company pack, and I just reprocessed it. In F, I brought it down to, I think, D sharp. Yeah, to D. That's my favorite key to work in. I don't know why. I feel like the 808s sound way better like that. And then basically, I just rearranged it because it played out like this. So the original thing sounded like this. So I brought it down to D, and then just rearranged the way that the synth like came out. And the processing on this is, I have a camel crusher. I always put camel crusher, British clean. I'm sure you guys know all about that. Some EQ, sausage fattener, but I don't even have that on this computer, so it's probably not even open. I like to use the effector on FL. I like to use it very, very subtle in the sense, depending on what it is. What I would normally use is the vocoder. I really like the vocoder on here. For the most part, I guess everything comes from the camel crusher.
For people who don't know, I'm assuming most people will know what camel crusher is, but for those maybe who are just getting into it, what does camel crusher do, and why is this particular setting your favorite?
It's like a compression, distortion. It's kind of like the Soundgodizer. If you use FL Studio, you know what the Soundgodizer is. The way I see it, it's like the Soundgodizer, but like better. I like to use it on British Clean, to be completely honest. I forgot who it was that told me, but they were like, yeah, you got to get camel crusher, British Clean on everything. And I tried it, and it works. And when I ask around, when I ask my producer homies if they use camel crusher, they all use British Clean. So I forgot who referenced it to me. Some random producer dude in Miami called Resna. When I first started producing, he was I used to make like house, and he was making dubstep, and he used camel crusher. He was using Homicide. There you go. Yeah. Homicide.
Do you put camel crusher on everything, or is there only certain elements that you put it on?
I'll mainly put it on synths. I'll never put it on a kick. I'll never put it on an 808. I'm not saying it's wrong to do that. I'll never put it on a bass line. I'll never put it mainly on like things that I feel like need to be brighter. I use it to widen things, to make it brighter, to make it sound like not so muffled.
I'm not super familiar with FL, so are you sidechain compressing that? And I suppose, yeah, if so, how does sidechain work in FL? Do you have to route into a separate channel? Or?
The way I do my sidechaining is very unorthodox. I don't know. I've never seen anybody do it like this. Basically, I could be wrong here, but the way I do it is whatever I'm sidechaining, I'll just automate the volume to go from like up and down. And then when I do that, I feel like I have more control over the way that the sidechaining goes. Like if I wanted to like curve here, I can just, curve it here. And then if I want this one to be different from this one, like I can just move this one, make this one unique. And then, But yeah, that's how I do my sidechaining. I basically just automate the volume to go from low to high. Because I'm pretty sure that's what sidechaining is anyways, right?
Yeah, exactly. So when you're doing that, you're automating the actual fader, the actual like volume fader?
Yeah, the actual volume. So you see it's here like when it plays. So I'll right click the automation clip, and then I'll just do the sidechaining.
So question with that then. So like later on, if you're mixing, if you go to mix the volume, I mean, does it, because you already have automation on there, does it mess with it? You see what I'm saying?
Not necessarily. Also, the way I do my mix downs, like I'll do everything internal here on FL. I'll mix it down to this song. Back, I actually didn't mix it. Max Started did. The way I do my mix downs, I'll do it all internal in FL Studio. I'll mix it down to the best of my abilities at -6. Then I'll just go on Ableton, and I'll throw my master chain. I'll do some mastering stuff on it. As far as it doesn't really affect the mix down. I've never noticed it do that before.
The reason why I'm wondering here is, so let's see that that company drop loop, that whole channel right there, like let's say you set the whole channel, you turn it down to like, let's say it's -5, and then you go and you automate the volume so that it goes from 0 up all the way, but then later on you're like, it's just too quiet at -5. I need it to be up at -3. So if you go up and you push it up to -3, does that mess with any of your automation settings or anything? You see what I'm saying?
The way around that in Ableton is if you wanted to say bring the whole channel down without affecting the automation, you could use a utility. So it's kind of like a roundabout way of working.
Oh, sorry to interrupt. I see. I think you're a little confused. I'm not automating the channel. I'm not automating the whole channel. I'm doing the I'm doing the automation on the actual like loop, not on the channel itself. Oh, that would be crazy.
I think it's in the first drop, and I think it's like halfway through the drop. I think you have like some type of like choir or some kind of like vocal in the background or something like that. Am I wrong? Maybe it wasn't a choir. Maybe it wasn't a vocal. I don't know. It sounded like some kind of element that was kind of like pad-like that was sustaining, but it wasn't a shout or anything like that.
I'm not sure if I did it. A lot of times what I do in my tracks when I feel like it's empty or like it's, you know, missing something, I'll literally just record myself humming in that tone. I'll just record myself like, and then I'll just like add it there, a little bit of reverb, not too much so it doesn't make everything cluttered. And then just very, very light in the background. I'm not sure if I did it here. I can't really see that I did.
Could it be that war horn sample maybe? I'm not sure.
I mean, there is a war horn here, but I think... I'm not sure.
I think that's actually what I was hearing. Can you solo that out?
Yeah, it's just a cashmere war horn.
That's it. That's what I was hearing.
This is in literally almost like all my tracks. I love the cashmere pack. It has really good like I like to make stuff that's like epic and like, you know, Mad Max sounding. Obviously Contact is great for that, but cashmere does have a lot of good effects. Like I'm sure you guys have seen like a raccoon and like bee. Like who else has that, you know?
Definitely. Yeah. I'm pretty sure that especially that exhaust effect from cashmere. I think is one of the most useful samples, like I feel like the last few years. How would a track like this come together? Did you start off right in the main drop section?
The way that I work, I like whether I'm using a sample or a synth or serum or massive or whatever it is, the way I work, I like to just hear a sound that I personally like, and that triggers in my head a whole drop. So when I heard this first stab here, I immediately I wanted to do something with it. I heard the loop, and obviously I'm not gonna copy paste or whatnot. So I just did some rearrangements on it. I don't know if you guys have heard a lot of my stuff. I like to use like brassy, you know, horns and kind of stuff. And this song, this lead here, I felt like it was brassy, but not like your typical brass. So the way I started was I heard the loop, did the rearrangement on it. This thing I hear, this little thing right here makes the whole drop. So I made this, then I made the percussion. There's a lot of little things. There's a lot of like little random like. Then I go and I gather the little filler things, you know. But the first thing I always do is the main synth. I cannot start a song without starting the drop because then I don't know what I'm working toward.
Personally, you start with the drop very, very first.
Yeah, I have to. Like I said, if not, I just don't know what I'm like. Like I'll make like a build up and an intro and everything, but then it's like, all right, where is this gonna go?
Did that snare come from one of your really epic cinematic stuff as well? Because I really like that snare.
This is actually my snare. It's a snare I've been using on all my tracks. I'm about to spill the beans right now. So I made this snare when I first made my song Raven. I used to work at a restaurant, and I remember I was hearing Lighters Up by Flosterdamus and Nightmare. And there's a play I remember because I used to like cook, and I was in the kitchen, and I remember specifically there's a part of the song where the snare just plays out clean, 100% by itself. I know you guys know exactly what part I'm talking about. And I was like, all right, I gotta sample that. So I changed the pitch of it. I used it in Raven. I layered it with like another, like, I think it was like an Ecali snare. And I've used it on all my tracks since. Well, most of them. It doesn't even have any processing on it. Yeah.
Also, do you use the same kick in every song?
I layered this. I don't think it's on here, but I layer all my kicks with this one here. I don't know if I'm wrong for doing that, but whatever.
It's art. Nothing's wrong.
Yeah, okay, good. The Cali Threats kick, what I'll do is I'll put that on top of the other kick, and then I just cut off the high end on it.
It's just thumpy. You like that thump?
Yeah. And to be completely honest, I got that from because I've been doing my own engineering now for like about a year, maybe a little longer. But before Max Styler was, and then he would tell me, he's like, yo, you should try this because this is something he was doing, and I did it. And I've been doing it on my tracks since.
So how long would a track like this normally take? Is it like 10 hours or 30, 40 hours? Or
this one was a quick one. As you can see, the project file is not really like, well, I guess it was 80.
Oh, dang. I didn't realize it kept track of time. That's so cool, man.
Oh, yeah. Ableton's slacking, man. Ableton has to get on that. Yeah, to be completely honest, though, I really don't think this was 83 hours. I'm pretty sure it was like another project, and I was just messing around, and eventually it came to the final to what it is now, I'm 100% sure that I did not spend 83 hours on it.
All right, honestly, that is a pretty cool thing that FL has going for it.
The way I like to work, whatever the root note is, I'll just obviously I'll make the 808 whatever the note is. So this is in D, so 808s are in D, and then here, if you're referring to how it's like color not all the way like this, I like to do that just because it I feel like when the 808s are playing together or any bass, even if it's a sub, if it's like just the whole way through, it's I don't know, I don't like it. I feel like when there's gaps, it gives it more bounce to it, and it gives it more, more of a bouncy feel. That's why I always like to use gaps. I'll never like to just like I like to and then cut it with the snare, And another thing that I do all the time too, I'll have the first 808 play out, and then it'll cut off when the snare comes in and whatnot.
Because if you had your 808 playing all the time, it's just like a movie that's just like super intense all the time.
Sound like. And that's kind of boring, If it stops, it's like, I don't know, it just bounces.
Yeah, it gives you a second to breathe.
Exactly, and especially here, I feel like that's what makes us the drop. That when it comes in, it's not just a drop; it comes in, and then there's like a little percussion, and then the bass comes back in. I feel like that's what makes a song, for me at least.
Question with your percussion though, I feel like I found a lot of really, really amazing results with doing percussion. If I basically find something that's so off the grid, so groovy, and just kind of like throwing it in there and making it work with things that are on the grid. Do you find that you're doing the same thing, or is like all of your percussion just basically straight on the grid?
I don't like to have my percussions where you expect it, because when it's expected, it's like if you expect, for example, like at the end of like every 4 bars there's a little thing. Yeah, everyone does that. But if you go and you throw it in here and there, I feel like it adds more flair to the song. It adds more elements, more stuff for people to listen to. The average listener, like that, a listener won't necessarily pick up on. But there's more stuff going on in the song that's entertaining. Now, to producers, obviously, you hear, where the percussion is, where everything's at.
So you mentioned you used Ableton to master?
Yeah. I started, I got into Ableton probably like 8 months ago, maybe 9 months ago. I've been producing for like 7 years. I started on Reason. Then I went to Fruity Loops. I never recommend anybody to start on Reason, by the way. Then I went to Fruity Loops, and all my homies use Ableton. I just wanted to learn because I got tired of going to studios and then they don't have FL, and then my computer was very crappy, so I wouldn't be able to bring it. So you go to your studio and then you just picked up Ableton a few months back. I had Heckler, Sean. I actually called him because he's one of my close friends, and he was on FL too. So I called him and I was like, "Yo, you're gonna explain everything to me." So I opened up FL and I'm like, okay, so on the mixer, there's this. How do I do this in Ableton? And so on and so on. We did it for like 2 hours. He didn't obviously it wasn't like everything, but it was enough for me to learn what I needed to learn. And then I had Tassion. He's helped me out too. He tossed me his one of his master chains so I can see how how he does his processing and his mastering. And he's a beast. You guys, I know you guys had him on there before. Vince is nasty. So yeah, so that's basically how I do the mastering and whatnot. Here's the reason why I moved to Ableton, and I do when I do sound design, I do my sound design on Ableton, because in FL Studios, if you look, if I want to go and let's say, and I have serial mode, if in Ableton, if you want to automate the rate, you click on it and the line comes out. Yeah. In FL Studios, I have to go to current projects, generators, find serum. I got to find wherever serum's at. Then I got to find what this is called on this Dropbox drop down menu, and then right click, then create automation clip. That's why I was like, yeah, I think FL Studio is definitely better as far as song structure, because like you could just make your patterns. I don't like to use patterns, but there's people that do. But you could just make your patterns, and it's just like all boxes. It's literally all boxes. I feel like that's something you necessarily at least I can't do on Ableton yet as far as song structure. So now the way I work is I'll go into Ableton, I'll make something that I like, that I think would be cool. I'll export it as a wave, try and bring it into FL, and then do reprocessing, and then go from there. It's a little weird, but it works for me.
I guess that's something I've always took for granted, because I started in Ableton, being able to have you touch a parameter and it instantly comes up in Ableton. I thought it was amazing, but I thought that everyone had it. So I didn't realize that you had to kind of jump through loops like this in FL.
Dude, it's so bad doing the automations in FL Studio. It's like anything you want to automate is just annoying. I'd rather just click on it, line comes out. And then you can literally do whatever you want. Here it's you gotta click here, then click here, and it's just annoying. You can't just and Ableton, I'd be able to do this, and all of that would come up.
Just out of curiosity, since we're on this concept, why do you still use FL? I know you just mentioned the reason about the arrangement, But I mean, is there a reason that's like holding you back from just like diving into the Ableton pool?
It's user friendly, man. Like FL is user friendly. Like, and I'm not saying anybody can pick up FL and learn, but if you go and you take the time and you come home and you practice, you can learn. I feel like you can learn easier than you can Ableton. Because like first time I looked at Ableton, I thought I was looking at Chinese. Like I did not understand what was going on. When I looked at FL Studios, I kind of had a general idea of what was going on, mainly because there's this the playlist, the sequencer, and I'm sure Ableton has all the same things, but I feel like here it's easier for me to access. Maybe I'm wrong, but here like I think the way like if I want reverb or any type of effect, I think it's done easier in FL. But again, the whole automation things on Ableton, that's sweet.
I think I kind of agree. I think it's the session view versus arrangement view that just makes it unnecessarily complicated for most people. Because I think 95% of people almost never need session view. So I feel like Ableton would be improved by having session view something you have to proactively open. So that the first time people load up Ableton, it just loads up in arrangement view, maybe with some nice faders or something. I think that would help an awful lot of people, to be honest.
Because session view in and of itself is actually, it's really, really smart. And if you know how to use it, you can actually get some really, really cool results out of it, especially some sound design results. It's actually really cool. But you're right. If you're coming from this, you're primarily in an arrangement view in this kind of fashion. And like with FL, everything's linear, moving from left to right. And then all of a sudden you open up Ableton and there's a session view. You're like, no. Question for you. So I believe it's at the beginning of the song where you have, well, actually it's through the entire song, but you have that vocal sample that says bring it back. And then on that vocal sample, it sounds like there's some kind of like metallic delay to it. Am I correct?
It's like what I said on the effector. I like to use it a lot, but it depends on what it is. But I like the flanger on here. It gives it a nice cool metallic effect. Normally what I would do to give it that sound, I would go on the delay.
Bring it back.
Okay, normally I would put it on that, on here, like on the one note, and it gives it that metallic-y sound. But for here, I just use the flanger. And also, I like to use a lot of FL Studio stock plugins. I don't like to use a lot of, I do use third-party VSTs, but I think if even Ableton, everything that Ableton comes with stock is powerful if you learn to use it. Same goes for FL Studio and any other DAW.
Do you do that also because they sound good, but also do you do it because just to like save CPU, or is there another reason why you just tend to use the native plugins that it comes with?
Yeah, to save CPU for the most part too. I mean, before, like, this computer is actually new. This is an Omen from HP. It's great. It's amazing. Before, I was producing on this freaking thing from 2007.
What would you say was the most difficult part of this track, or did it come together quite easily?
The most difficult part for me in this song was definitely the percussion. I'm not a lazy producer. I've been a lazy producer before at times where I'm like, okay, I know I could do this and this to make the songs, but it's like, you kind of just like, I don't know, it's kind of lazy on my end. And for me, it was basically getting the percussion, everything to get it to sound how I wanted it to sound. I think that was probably the hardest part for me, to make like to get the little filler stuff going. Because I've been like, before this, I was very basic. I wasn't trying to do anything too crazy. I don't know why. Definitely the percussion was what it was for me. After this song, I started getting into like I used to hate doing intros and outros. After I did back, I love doing intros and outros. I don't know why, but definitely these little bad boys.
Bring it back.
There's a bunch of like little random stuff. There's these little shouts here too.
Let's say you woke up tomorrow and basically everyone forgot that you released this song, and so you're like, cool, I'm actually going to release it again. Is there anything that you would do differently about this song? Oh no,
yeah, I would. If I could go back and change all my old stuff, I 100% would. I feel like I've definitely, in the past year alone, I've picked up a bunch of things on production, and I've worked with a few people. Like, I've been able to sit in the studio with Five Finger Death Punch. I've been able to sit in the studio with Heckler, with people like, for me, Sean, he's one of the people that like I could learn a lot from, because his sound design is nuts. If you hear his stuff is crazy. But I definitely would go back and, just change a few things on it, make it more modern, way better intro.
Just out of curiosity, I mean, what would be something that you would change, and how would you change it?
The intro, I would definitely make it more melodic. Before, on all my old tracks, all my intros were basically, like I said, not that I was lazy. I don't want people to think that. But before, what I would do was, okay, I have my drop. Because remember, I said I start everything with a drop. I have my drop. So my intro would basically be me taking the drop apart and then slowly bringing it all in, go to a build-up, and then the drops. Now, I'm just like, I don't want to do that. I want to make like the intro, brand new sound, something completely different from the drop. That's probably what I would change. Just go back and make the intro a lot more melodic, more listener friendly. Even though the song is great, the song I still play. I think the song it bangs live. You get over some of the stuff. Like I'm sure a lot of producers aren't too fond of their old music.
Was there anything you did in this track that some people might call technically incorrect, but worked in the context of this song?
I feel like I'm not like very technical with certain things, like the way I sidechain. I feel like that's incorrect. People are like, well, I've worked with people and they're like, why are you sidechaining? Like, I mean, it's the same thing. Besides that, no, not really. And then again, maybe it's because like I feel like in music, like I did take a music production class for my first time, and I learned the first rule was there's no rules to making music besides the obvious basic rules. So with that being said, sometimes when I feel like, okay, maybe this is wrong, like I don't know, like putting a vocal compressor on a kick, even if it doesn't matter if it sounds weird, like if when you hear it's like a vocal compressor on a kick, that sounds weird. But when you play it, it sounds good. That's all that matters.
Would you like to have our feedback on your song?
Oh yeah, of course, by all means. I love feedback.
How much do you love your brass hits, like your big brass hits?
I cannot. I put out like 3 brass songs, right? And I go on Reddit and I see people like, oh, this guy doesn't make anything but brass music, and I'm like, okay. I released a bass house record, not even to switch it up, just because I like to make all types of stuff. And then the same person's like, oh man, I wish this guy would go back to the brass. So as of now, I hate the whole brass thing. I hate like
you're entering the phase where it's like the brass hit was cool, but now you're kind of moving away from it.
Yeah, I've been moving away from it. I don't want to be a brass guy. Somebody else could be the brass guy.
Cool. Okay. So the reason why I bring it up is exactly the reason why you're saying it, is just because it is like the brass hit, like it sounds really, really cool, but it's kind of been beaten half to death. And so that is really like my main thing about this, is that I loved the sound design, and obviously I love songs like this. You know what I mean? I go to the gym and just like thrive on these type of songs. I need these type of songs. I don't know if it's just something culturally or just something that I'm just so used to now. But like when I do hear the brass, it's almost like instantly I'm like, you know what I mean? Like I feel like, you're a smart guy. You're a great producer. And so I feel like you could fill that brass void that you have now with something else. And it can still like kind of act as that downbeat, like super strong, really beautiful texture thing that just like smacks you in the face. I mean, do you agree, or what do you feel with that?
1000%. Like the brass thing was cool, and it's like that's the thing. A lot of people have done it. Anybody now. Here's the thing. When I first started doing my first brass track, which was DAW, I made that song 3 years ago. There was no Cymatics brass. Now anyone can go download a Cymatics brass, and it sounds good. I'm not hating on like it sounds great. So now I'm kind of just like I don't want to do that. It's simple, and it's like I like to challenge myself as now I like to challenge myself as a producer and as an artist. I'm at a point now where it's like it takes me, before I would 6 songs in a matter of like 2 weeks. I can't do that anymore because now I have higher standards for myself. Now I have I want to push it. I don't want to make another brass track. I don't want to do that.
And I think it's important to note though, if your answer was no, I actually really, really love that would have been okay too, because I don't want you to not do brass music anymore and make these brass things just because of like culturally or because of outside influences. If you yourself love it, if you love the sound of brass hits and everything, then you have a responsibility to yourself to do that, because that's truly what you love. But if it's kind of like, you know what, it was okay, I wasn't against it, but it was all right, it was cool, I did it, but now I'm just like, just not feeling it anymore. That's okay too, dude. You just need to stay true to what you feel and what you want, and not worry about what other people want, basically.
All that matters is that your content, that you're happy with your music. It doesn't matter if you send it out for promos and no label picks up on it. If you go to sleep at night and you're happy with the music that you're making, that's all that matters. So like me, I didn't stop the brass thing because it was like a cultural thing. It was more like, all right, I gotta challenge myself. I want to make more cooler sounding music than just brass stabs.
You said something in there that was really cool. I've actually never heard that before. You have to be content with your content. Like, that's cool. That's nice.
Yeah, so I suppose in terms of feedback, I literally couldn't spot anything that I could really say negative about the track. So it's purely one way I think that could take it to the next level, just purely based on my own preference, is almost to add more story to it. So if you listen to most of Knife Party's tracks, for example, even like their most like banger tracks, there's still a little bit of story to it. Sometimes more story than other tracks. But I think that's a really good way of standing out in a genre like this, because while yes, I put this in like the highest category in terms of quality for tracks like this, there are literally thousands, or not, maybe not thousands, but there are hundreds and hundreds of equally good, amazing tracks. So I think having a bit of story, even if it's just like a really small amount of the track, I think is a really powerful way just to take it to that next level, and also make it more memorable, and kind of give it more of a long-term long tail. Whereas like sometimes if it's purely a really good track, then it's great for a bit and then it kind of dies off. But if it has that kind of story element, then at least in my eyes, it kind of hangs around for years and years and years. Yeah, that's just, as I said, purely to my own preference, but I think it could be a really cool way to take it to the next level.
No, yeah, and I definitely agree this, which is why I said the whole thing about like the intro, like what you said, but like making a story, not just like before how I said I would do the drop and then basically I would get the drop, deconstruct it, put in the intro. That's not a story. That's just the same thing the whole way through. Yeah, I agree 10,000%. You know, adding more elements at the song, like something that plays in the song for just that one part and doesn't play again, stuff like that. You know, I feel like that would definitely make it better. I agree.